Paris, France, December 1954. Sorbonne Library. Marie Dubois, 17 years old, sits at a table covered with documents that don't make sense. Before her, her civil birth certificate, her baptism record, and a letter from the university requesting complete documentation for enrollment. The dates don't match. The names are slightly different. And for the first time in her life, Marie Dubois is asking a question that will change everything. Who am I really? This is the fourth story of The Last Train Home. The story of how a 17-year-old became the detective of her own past, and how the search for truth sometimes means discovering that everything you believed about yourself was a carefully constructed story to protect you, and it all began with an inconsistency impossible to ignore. Marie Dubois had always been an exceptional student. At 17, she had been accepted to the Sorbonne to study music and literature. Her teachers in Beaumont-sur-Loire described her as brilliant, curious, methodical, exactly the qualities that would now lead her to question her entire existence. It all started simply. In November 1954, the university requested complete documentation: birth certificate, baptism record, school history, proof of residence. Marie went to Beaumont-sur-Loire City Hall to obtain certified copies. That's when she noticed something strange. The birth date on her civil certificate was August 15, 1937, but she had always celebrated her birthday on August. Narrator. Maman, Marie asked Claire that evening, why does my birth certificate say August 15th, but we always celebrate on the 20th? Claire hesitated for a fraction of a second, enough time for Marie to notice. It must be an administrative error, ma chérie. You know how these things are. War paperwork sometimes has mistakes, but 5 days difference. How can that be an error? I'll check with your father tomorrow. Don't worry about it now. But Marie couldn't stop thinking about it. That night she examined all the documents she had and found more inconsistencies. Her baptism record, dated March 19, 1943, listed her parents as Pierre Dubois and Claire Dubois. But there was no mention of godparents, unusual for Catholic baptisms. Her school records only began in 1945, when she was 8 years old. Why are there no records from before? She wondered. Where was I between 1943 and 1945? Different birth date between documents. Late baptism at 5 to 6 years old, unusual for Catholic families. No godparents on baptism record. School records starting late. No photographs of her before 1944. Maybe the photos were lost in the war, she thought. But something inside her said there was more than just lost documents. In December, Marie approached Father Francois Moreau at the church. Father, I was looking at my baptism record and noticed I was baptized at 5 years old. Isn't that unusual? The priest was visibly uncomfortable. Sometimes during the war, families delayed baptisms for various reasons. It's not that unusual. And the godparents? Why are there no godparents listed? Marie, why these questions now? Is there a problem? I'm just curious about my own history, Father. Father Moreau studied Marie carefully. Sometimes, Mafil, our history is exactly what it needs to be. Your parents love you very much. That's what matters. Marie noticed he hadn't answered her questions, and noticed something else. There was sadness in the priest's eyes. Not irritation at her questions, but genuine sadness. Father, is there something I should know? Marie, if you have deep doubts about your origin, perhaps you should talk to your parents first. They love you more than anything in this world. Marie couldn't stop thinking about Father Moreau's words. Your parents love you very much. Not, we love you, but specifically your parents. As if he needed to emphasize who her real parents were. At the Sorbonne Library, Marie shared her concerns with Professor Laurent Beaumont, her literature advisor who also taught contemporary history. Professeur, Marie said, showing her documents, I found these inconsistencies. I don't know how to proceed. Professor Beaumont examined the papers carefully. He was about 50 years old and had been part of the resistance during the war. He immediately recognized the pattern. Marie, these inconsistencies are the type of thing we see in protection documents. Protection documents? During the war, many children received new identities to keep them safe. Families changed names, dates, entire stories to protect children from persecution. Marie felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. Are you saying that I'm not Marie Dubois? I'm saying that perhaps you were someone else before being Marie Dubois. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. It's something heroic. It means someone loved you enough to give you a second chance at life. Marie fought back tears. How? How do I find out the truth? There are organizations that help people like you. THOSE, Œuvre de Secours aux Enfants. They keep records of children who were protected, adopted or displaced during the war. 2 days later, Marie was at OSE headquarters in Paris. Madame Léonie Bernard, the same social worker who had helped Samuel Goldstein years before, received her with professional compassion. Mademoiselle Dubois, Madame Bernard said, you're not the first young woman who comes here with questions about her origin. And probably won't be the last. Marie showed her documents. I just need to know who I really am. Madame Bernard examined the papers with experienced eyes. She had seen thousands of similar cases in the past 10 years. Beaumont-sur-Loire. March 1943, she murmured, checking her notes. Marie, before we search our archives, I need to prepare you for what you might find. What do you mean? Sometimes discovering the truth about our origins also means discovering losses. It might mean knowing your biological family didn't survive the war. It might mean learning you were saved by people who made very difficult decisions. Marie took a deep breath. I understand, but living without knowing is worse than any truth I might discover. Madame Bernard nodded with approval. You're brave. Let me check our archives. Beaumont-sur-Loire in 1943. There were several escape routes passing through there. She spent 20 minutes searching through file drawers, checking lists, cross-referencing names and dates. Finally, she found something. Marie, Madame Bernard said carefully, there's something interesting here. We have correspondence from a man looking for a family that passed through Beaumont-sur-Loire in March 1943, the Goldstein family. A musician, his wife, and 2 small daughters. Marie's heart raced. Goldstein? That was my name? I can't confirm that yet. But there's more. This man, Samuel Goldstein, has been specifically looking for a girl born in 1937, the same age as you. Where is this man? Can I speak with him? Madame Bernard hesitated. This is very delicate, Marie. If this man is really your relative, revealing your location without proper preparation could be traumatic for both of you. Please, Marie pleaded. I need to know. If he can tell me who I am, I need to speak with him. Madame Bernard studied the young woman before her. She saw determination, but also fear. Very well. But I'll do this. I'll write to him informing that a young woman with your characteristics is looking for information. If he responds, we'll arrange a proper meeting. But Marie, prepare yourself. This could be the most difficult conversation of your life. Marie couldn't wait for Madame Bernard to write to Samuel. That same afternoon, she returned to the OSE with a letter she had written. Monsieur Goldstein, the letter began, I found your name in OSE archives as someone looking for the Goldstein family. My name is Marie Dubois, I'm 17 years old, and I recently discovered inconsistencies in my documents, suggesting I may not have been born with this name. Marie wrote 3 pages detailing all the inconsistencies she had found. She described Beaumont-sur-Loire, the date of her baptism in March 1943, the fact that she had no clear memories from before 1944. She ended the letter with a simple but devastating question. Monsieur Goldstein, can you tell me who I am? Madame Bernard read the letter and nodded. I'll send it today. But Marie, it might take a few days to receive a response. Actually, it took less than 24 hours. Samuel Goldstein received the letter on December 20th, 1954, at 9 a.m. He read it 3 times, tears streaming down his face. After 2 years of silence, keeping the agreement he had made with Pierre Dubois, Rebecca Marie was looking for him. She was ready to know the truth. Samuel wrote his response immediately. Dear Marie, I received your letter with a heart full of emotion. Yes, I looked for the Goldstein family for many years. And yes, I believe you may be the girl I searched for so long. But before we meet, there are things you need to know, things that will change your understanding of who you are. Samuel spent hours writing that letter. He told about Jacob and Miriam, about Rachel, about the music that had been the heart of the family. He described the flight from Paris in March 1943, the attempt to reach Switzerland, but he was careful, very careful, because he knew his words would destroy and rebuild Marie's world at the same time. "Marie," he wrote, "the people who raised you love you deeply. They saved you when I couldn't. They gave you the life Jacob and Miriam would have wanted for you. Whatever truth we discover together, please remember this. You had two families who loved you, and both are real." Samuel's letter arrived at the OSE on December 22nd. Madame Bernard called Marie immediately. "Marie, I received a response from Monsieur Goldstein. But before I give you this letter, I need you to understand what you're about to read will change your life. There's no going back once you know." Marie looked at the envelope in Madame Bernard's hands. Her hands trembled, but her voice was firm. "I want to know. No matter what it is, I need to know." Marie read Samuel's letter right there in the OSE office. With each paragraph, her world dismantled and rebuilt itself. Jacob Goldstein, violinist. Miriam Goldstein, piano teacher. Rachel, her older sister. A musical family that had fled Germany for Paris. A family that had tried to escape to Switzerland in March 1943. A family that had disappeared, except for a small 5-year-old girl named Rebecca. Rebecca, Marie whispered to herself, testing the unfamiliar name on her tongue. "I was Rebecca Goldstein." Madame Bernard placed a gentle hand on Marie's shoulder. "You're still Marie Dubois. But now you also know you were once Rebecca Goldstein. Both are part of who you are." Marie looked up, tears streaming down her face. "What happened to my family? To Jacob and Miriam and Rachel?" Samuel's letter doesn't mention it, but from the tone, I suspect they didn't survive. If you're enjoying this video, please click the like button so YouTube can share it with more people. And if you enjoy this type of video, please subscribe to our channel. December 23, 1954. Marie returned to Beaumont-sur-Loire on the afternoon train. She held Samuel's letter as if it were something both sacred and terrible. During the entire journey, she tried to process what she had discovered. "I am Rebecca Goldstein," she repeated to herself. "I had a family, a sister, parents who played music, but the memories wouldn't come." No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember Jacob or Miriam or Rachel. There was only Marie, the girl who grew up at the bakery, who played piano at church, who had Pierre and Claire as parents. When Marie arrived at the bakery, it was almost dinner time. Pierre was closing the shop. Claire was preparing the meal in the kitchen. Everything seemed normal, common, familiar, but Marie now knew this normalcy had been built on a secret kept for 12 years. "Maman?" "Papa," she said, entering the kitchen. "We need to talk." Claire looked at Marie's face and knew immediately. "Marie, what happened?" "I went to the OSE in Paris. I discovered who I am, or rather who I was." Pierre dropped the bread he was putting away. "Marie, my name was Rebecca Goldstein, wasn't it?" The silence that followed was absolute. Claire sat heavily in a chair, her hands trembling. Pierre stood still as if he had been waiting for this moment for 12 years and still wasn't prepared. How did you find out?" Claire asked, her voice breaking. "Inconsistencies in the documents. A professor guided me to the OSE, and there I found correspondence from a man named Samuel Goldstein who was looking for me." "Samuel," Pierre whispered. "He kept his promise. He didn't come to you, but waited for you to come to him." Marie looked at both of them with a mixture of love and betrayal. "You knew. All this time you knew and never told me." "To protect you," Claire said, tears already flowing. "Marie, you came to us traumatized, scared, calling for people who would never return. You cried every night, had terrible nightmares, and gradually you forgot. You became happy. But I had the right to know. You had the right to be happy," Pierre countered. "You had the right to grow up without the weight of knowing your family was killed by the Nazis." Marie felt her legs weaken. "Dead? They're all dead?" Claire went to her, trying to embrace her, but Marie pulled back. "We don't know for certain about Rachel, but Jacob and Miriam were taken that night. They never came back. And me? What happened to me?" Pierre then told the whole story. The night of March 15, 1943, finding Rebecca hidden in the wardrobe, the decision to save her by changing her identity, the baptism, the transformation of Rebecca into Marie. We kept everything. Claire said, standing and going to a cabinet. She took out a wooden box Marie had never seen before. "This is yours." It always was. It was just waiting for the right moment. Inside the box, a silver Star of David, a piece of navy blue dress with a yellow star sewn on, a lock of dark curly hair, and a letter in handwriting Marie didn't recognize. Marie picked up the Star of David with trembling hands. It was delicate, old, with Hebrew symbols she couldn't read. "This belonged to your grandmother Leah," Claire explained. "You wore it around your neck when you came to us. Refused to take it off. Slept with it pressed against your chest." Marie didn't remember. Didn't remember anything. Not the star, not grandmother Leah, not the girl she had been. "Why don't I remember?" she asked, desperate. "Why can't I remember them?" "Because you were too young and too traumatized," Pierre said gently. "A child's brain sometimes erases memories too painful to carry. You survived by forgetting, but now I want to remember. I want to know who they were, what their faces looked like, their voices." "The letter," Claire indicated the box. "There's a letter from Samuel. He wrote it 2 years ago in case you ever ask questions. Maybe it will help." Marie read the letter Samuel had written in 1952, 3 pages about Jacob and Miriam, about Rachel, about the music that had been the heart of the Goldstein family. Samuel described Jacob playing violin in Parisian cafes, Miriam teaching piano to children, the 2 sisters learning music together. He described the love between them, the hope they maintained even when everything seemed lost, and he ended with words that would break and heal Marie at the same time. "You had 2 families who loved you, one that brought you into the world, and another that saved and raised you. Both are real, both are part of who you are." Marie put the letter back in the box and looked at Pierre and Claire, the only people she remembered as parents. You saved me. We loved you," Claire said. "From the first moment we loved you. I know, and I love you. But I also had another family who loved me. And they died, and I didn't even know I should be missing them." Marie spent that entire night in the kitchen with Pierre and Claire, asking questions they tried to answer as best they could. What was her voice like? Miriam's? Soft, gentle, she sang to you. And Jacob? What was he like? We didn't know him personally, but Samuel said he was a brilliant musician, and that he played violin with passion. And Rachel? My sister? Pierre and Claire didn't know much about Rachel. But they had something. The photograph Samuel had shown them years ago. Pierre had kept a copy. Marie looked at the photo for the first time. A man with a violin, a woman at the piano, 2 small girls. One of them, the smaller one, had dark curly hair and big eyes. "It's me," Marie whispered, touching the photograph. "This girl is me." It was the first time she had seen her own face before the transformation. In the following days, Marie oscillated between anger, sadness, gratitude, and confusion. She loved Pierre and Claire. That hadn't changed. But now she also carried the weight of a lost family she could barely imagine. "What do I do now?" she asked Claire on Christmas Eve. "How do I live with 2 identities?" "You don't have 2 identities, ma chérie. You have one identity enriched by 2 stories. Rebecca is part of Marie. Marie is who Rebecca became. Both are you." On December 27th, Marie wrote back to Samuel, "Dear Monsieur Goldstein, thank you for looking for me for so many years. Thank you for not giving up on Rebecca, even when she became Marie and no longer knew who she was. I would very much like to meet you, to hear stories about Jacob and Miriam and Rachel, to try to understand who I was before being who I am now. If you're willing, I would like us to meet. Marie Rebecca Dubois Goldstein." The signature said it all. She was no longer just one person or the other. She was both, and was beginning to understand that this wasn't a contradiction. It was a complex completeness. In January 1955, Marie Dubois, Rebecca Goldstein, returned to Paris, but this time she wasn't alone. Pierre and Claire insisted on accompanying her. "We'll meet Samuel together," Claire said. "He's part of your story as much as we are, and maybe it's time for all of us to learn to share you." The meeting was scheduled for January 15th, at the same café near the Bastille where Samuel had met with Henri Dubois years ago. Marie was nervous. In a few days, she would meet the man who had searched for her for 12 years. the man who was her biological father's brother. The man who could tell stories about the family she couldn't remember, but she was also afraid. Afraid that meeting Samuel meant having to choose between two families. Afraid that the past would destroy the present she loved. This was the fourth story of The Last Train Home. The story of how discovering who you are sometimes means accepting that you are multiple people at the same time, and how truth, however painful, is the only path to completeness. In the next video, we'll follow the meeting between Marie and Samuel and discover that some family reunions aren't about recovering what was lost, but about learning to honor multiple truths simultaneously. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel and share our video to help us spread our stories.